And then you got Sam Hain, pronounced. How is it pronounced then? Sam Hain.
I think it's Samhain.
What?
Yeah, I think that's it.
So did Danzig lose his mind when he joined that band?
Well, he started it. Yeah.
I guess.
All right, let's listen to the computer. It's going to tell us how to say it. 1 second.
Okay. All right. Let's listen to this because I'm curious.
Here we go.
Samhain. Huh. Interesting. I never would have known that. So you got
like
the Misfits.
A Celtic Halloween kind of thing. Not really Halloween, more like All Souls Day maybe or whatever. But
are you sure it's not Halloween?
Yeah. Halloween. I love Halloween.
They just came out with like a new album recently.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
I'll have to check it out. Still around.
Oh man, we're really wasting some time today.
Not for long, because
that's true.
This is the Accelerativ Thrust podcast, and I'm Dan Dan Zig.
Yeah, and I'm Erik or Erie Vaughn.
Or you can also call us Ian and Derek if you want.
Yeah, or Ian and Derek.
Yep, it doesn't really matter. It does not matter.
Honestly, we can't hear you anyway. So
yeah,
call us whatever the hell you want.
Call us whatever you want. No skin off of our back.
Yeah, we can't even hear you. So
we can't even hear you. So today we are going to be interviewing All the World is Kayfabe, which consists of two rappers from the Quad Cities, Errol and CK PITS. I don't know what to expect from this interview, Erik. I think it's going to be a very interesting one. I don't know about CK PITS. I know nothing about him, but I do know that Errol used to go by the name Smash Moody and was kind of part of the Quad Cities sort of metalcore punk scene. But, what we're mainly going to talk about, I suspect, is this project, All the World is Kayfabe, which for all you listeners out there that remember, it was a local review of ours. What was that? 3 or 4 months ago at this point?
A little while. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little while ago. And it's a wrestling themed rap record, but is also extremely eclectic in its music taste.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Eclectic?
Eclectic.
Yeah. Eclectic. It's it's a very off kilter sort of hip hop record. It's got a lot of stuff going on, and is also kind of confusing in the best ways to the listener. I think the beats and the music are absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to talk to them about that or whatever they want to talk about. If they want to talk about the Misfits, we'll talk about the Misfits.
Yeah, I'll talk about Misfits. I don't know much about them. I think they're from Lodi, New Jersey.
So that's why Glenn Danzig has the East Coast accent.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Who do you think would win in a fight?
That's all I know about them.
Who do you? Yeah, I honestly, that's more than
they're from New Jersey. Yeah,
that's more than me, dude. Like honestly, I didn't even know that. So that's one you got up on me there, Erik.
Robo was their drummer for a while.
Yeah, Robo was in Black Flag also, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think would win in a fight between Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig? I wonder if anyone's ever talked about this. I'm sure somebody did.
I'm sure it's been talked about by every music fan ever. Who would win a fight?
Between Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig.
Well, I don't know if I can really get into all that without accidentally talking some smack.
Okay. Well,
which is fine. I don't care, I guess. But why don't you go first?
Well, since we're talking about a wrestling themed hip hop record, let's pretend that they're in a wrestling ring together.
Okay.
Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig. Well, I know more about Henry Rollins than I do about Glenn Danzig. So in my mind, Henry Rollins already has the advantage.
Wow. Literally in your mind.
In my mind, exactly. In my eyes.
Is Ian Mackay the ref?
Yeah, Ian Mackay is the ref. And
okay. All right. So we have the whole setup. Who's going to win?
Who's going to win? I'm going to say Henry Rollins just because I know more about Henry Rollins. And that's the only thing I'm going to base that on. Nothing against Glenn Danzig. I do think he's probably a tough guy. But I don't know. I do know that Henry Rollins seems to really take care of himself and always seems to have. What about you, Eric? What about you?
Well, okay. So two things. Danzig, I know can be knocked out. I don't have definitive proof that Henry Rollins can be knocked out.
That's a very, very good point.
I think all humans can. I sort of think Henry Rollins can be a bit of a poser. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that he's very important. He was in a very important band, I guess, too, if you want to be generous. But I just think he kind of plays it up. You know what I mean? Like, I get that modern hardcore people look at those Rollins records, especially Damage, as being ground zero for hardcore. And I get it. That's fine. Awesome.
Well, especially My War. I would definitely give it up for My War.
But I think Danzig, I think he's meaner. And I think that he would be a dirtier fighter because he doesn't care about looking bad. And I also think that he has Satan on his side. So, and there's a good chance he can turn into a wolf. I don't have proof of that, but I think it might be true. I'd put my money on Danzig personally.
Okay. All right. So you've raised some really, really good points about Danzig. He does seem to be the one that cares less about the one. And also,
it's a Danzig song.
If you're going to compare, I know.
Well, it looks like CK Pits might be waiting to get in.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Shall we get started?
Let's bring him in. Bring him in.
And
ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to enter the world of Kayfabe.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on?
Can you guys see me at all? Because I don't see myself at all. Oh, it doesn't show my face?
You don't have to. We can turn them off.
But I want to. Hello,
oh my gosh. I can see why you wanted to show us that.
Of course.
Okay.
I barely do Zoom, so this is like very.
I've never done Zoom.
This is the first time I've done Zoom in this way. I'm like, all right, we're doing it.
I really, really genuinely feel like an old man trying to do Zoom.
Me too. Every time. Still.
All the time. Yes, absolutely. It never changes. That's for sure. We got Errol Hem in the house. Awesome. And then we got CK Pits. And if I'm not mistaken, you're in Atlanta. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm technically in Alpharetta, like an hour away from Atlanta, but I just say Atlanta because it's easier.
Oh, yeah. There you
go. So I suppose we should talk about this project, All the World is Kayfabe, which we reviewed.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much, dude.
Yeah, no problem. I actually just re-listened to it again.
Me too.
Kind of in preparation for this because,
cool.
I mean, it really is a very interesting take on hip hop, I feel. And so I guess the first question, let's get into it right away. How did you guys connect? I assume that you're both from the Quad Cities, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, we were introduced by Drew Hans, Dr. Ew. If you guys
I went to college with Drew.
He lives in Minneapolis now, and I believe you and him were going to school together, right?
Yeah, so I pretty much lived in Minneapolis for like 5 years when I went to college there for art college. Being an artist and a creative also was like, when I get to Minneapolis. I need to start my own. At first, I wanted to start an indie folk band, and then I realized, oh wait, rap music is starting to become more popular nowadays and fusing other forms of music. So like, I just was just like, I'm just gonna start CK Pits and just do a bunch of random shit, see what happens. And yeah, I just got connected with people from like the locals in Minneapolis, and Drew was one of them. He was like a few grades above me, so like he graduated, but around 2017 he asked me to be on the he actually asked me and my other friend who I was making music with, Kestro, he goes by Young Duck. He wanted us to be on this big posse cut track, and I did a verse on there, and Errol liked it, and we kind of just connected from there. And then Errol was the one who kind of connected me with a bunch of like performances in the Quad Cities, and that was the first time I went to the Quad Cities and got that DIY, artists traveling life for a brief second, and it was fun. That's how we met, and we just stayed in contact and just kept creating music together.
I was just gonna say I had to when I heard his verse on that song, I was like, I gotta do some stuff with this dude. So I just hit him up.
So Errol, I know that you have kind of roots in the Quad Cities DIY scene a little bit. I mean, I know you used to go by Smash Moody. CK, have you always gone by the name CK Pits?
Actually, so when I was a teenager, so I started rapping when I was 13, and I used to just go by my initials. My actual name is Trayon Xavier Bell. You could just call me Trey. But
okay.
I used to go by TXB for like my rapper name back when I was like in high school, because it was just like TXB. I mean, technically, I guess you can still say I'm TXB because it is I initial it whenever I make art. And I feel like CK Pits is just more of this weird, at this point in time, I guess, like now that I kind of conceptualized it more, it's
a piece of the Kayfabe
land where I can just express my weird appreciation for absurdity, the occult, and forming it with like all different forms of music that doesn't seem like they should go together. That's kind of the basis.
Trey has created like an entire world artistically, and he has like a plethora of characters that he's like created in this world, in this universe. Essentially, CK Pits is like a voice of, some of that. It's like just a little piece of the puzzle, man.
That's
awesome, more of an
man.
audio version of my weird fantasy land I've had since I was a child. I don't know. I've been deep into media, and I love movies, of music. I love history, philosophy, psychology, and just combining all those concepts, just pretty much nerding out on anything and everything is possible.
So I was gonna ask, so Trey, you said that you had thought about doing like an indie folk project and then did hip hop instead. So is hip hop something you both were drawn to early, or is it something that you realized you liked later after you'd already done other music? I guess how'd you get into hip hop from that place? And either of you can answer.
I got into hip hop like in probably 4th or 5th grade, I would say. I started like walking home from school, and my cousin lived in an apartment in between there, and he would check me his old rap records that he wasn't listening to anymore, and like 3 6 Mafia was like one of the first real like rap record I got my hands on. Yeah, that kind of got me going on it, and then like some No Limit stuff, and
Yeah, and your cousin had those, right? Is how you got into?
Yeah. My cousin really was the one that got me into this stuff like
gotcha.
a lot. And guys in grade school, I went to Catholic grade school, so we were passing around the Tupac greatest hits, when he got killed and stuff. So I was getting into all that stuff in grade school.
What about you, CK Pits?
All right, so my musical journey pretty much started when I was 10. I got really into the Gorillaz Demon Days album.
Yeah,
that was like my first introduction to music, and I guess like now in retrospect, looking back at it, like it's the reason why I like so many different types of stuff, like eclectically. Like even though like I've always been just growing up, like hip hop has always been like an aspect of my life. Like whether it's hip hop or R&B, like my mom always listening to pretty much the 90s essentials and stuff like that. And but I guess like as a kid, I was just always just like very explorative, where I was like, oh, what's this? What's this? If I liked something, I'd listen to it. And I think the Gorillaz was easy for me to get into because I was like, they're a cartoon band,
Right,
and like
for sure.
everything about the Gorillaz, I feel like makes more sense in this day and age. And like at
For
the
sure.
time period, I was listening to Demon Days like on a daily basis. It was like their
Right.
first self-titled album, and then the Gorillaz Demon Days album. I had it all on this like black little MP3 player. Like, so from the year 2005 to 2007, I literally just listened to both those albums on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. I just knew that I liked it.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely. I can hear that would have been, at least with this project, I can sort of hear that lineage, you know. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on this, on All the World is Kayfabe. Did you guys work on the production together, or who mostly worked on the music?
It actually started out as like a solo record.
Okay.
Like a lot of the songs kind of started out as like skeletons for solo records, but like I kind of like stopped wanting to write raps a little more, and I don't know, something kind of linked. I don't really remember what specifically happened with. I think it was between just collaborating with Trey a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think it was because New World Normal was a song that we had done, and like I don't know, I think we did it in like 2017 or something, maybe like
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
either
There
way,
there's a few songs on the project where like I was actually still in college when we had made them,
Cool.
and I don't think
Yeah.
we even met yet. We had like, because the first time we met was like for your Junetopia event, but we did like ever since Drew's Posse track, we started like making more music together.
Cool.
Whether it was me or
Yeah.
you and Doug, and like a culmination of all that. It was just kind of
Nice.
intermixed, and then
it was
after
28.
2019, that's like when we solidified
Gotcha.
Ackwit.
I had to get him to. I was like, man, you want to just fucking do the whole record with me for doing vocals? And he's like, yeah. And we did a lot of stuff. Like I had some production done already. Like some of the production on there was from like 2011 even.
Mhm.
Like a couple of the tracks were just like old stuff that I finally dug up, and Trey did magic to them. And other times I would just like send him a click, or he would just send me some vocals with just a click that he had, because he just had stuff written, and I would just build around that. And now that's why like we actually are kind of working on the second one right now, and
Cool.
it kind of came organically from when we were going to do the first interview. We started chatting again, and
Yeah.
I kind of had just been diddling around a little bit on some production when I had a weekend and a spark, and sent him some stuff, and like we have one track pretty much done already. I was like, all right, we got to do this new one for Halloween this next year too. So
Nice.
we
Cool.
just like have that trajectory to keep building, and it's going to be like, I mean, I think I'd probably have a couple verses or hooks, but it's going to predominantly just be my production, and then him just doing what he does, and like
That should be sick.
destroying it
Awesome.
vocally.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I asked is because a little breaking of kayfabe for us here. We send out like a pre-interview sort of questionnaire and to our guests. And CK Pits, you listed a couple of groups in your favorite bands that I 100% hear in All the World is Kayfabe, especially Black Moth Super Rainbow, the vocoders, synthesizer stuff, like those drippy
The
kind
Black
of
Moth Super Rainbow stuff, like
Yeah,
I
just
don't
like-
think I intended for anything to be put in there, like that sound. I think I was just listening to them so much.
Yeah.
If anything, like it probably was just a coincidence, just
Sure.
based off of like
Yeah.
just all of our interest and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm obsessed with
I
Black
believe you
Moth
said
and
that.
tobacco. Yeah. So
I believe Trey actually, didn't you point that out one time? Like hearing some of the stuff, weren't you like, yo, you need to check out, are you the one that told me you need to check them out? Because it was like something
because
reminding you of that. I'd never heard them before that.
oh, nice.
Me, you, Doug, the song "You, Me," Doug, and what's the other dude's name he actually does more of the vocal? I forgot what his name is.
Ben, yeah,
Ben.
that's Ben. That he did all that vocoder stuff. That's
Okay.
he does that.
If anything,
does
like I
not
remember
do
when I
demo.
first heard him perform when we did the because the first time I ever met him was way back when we did the back in
Churchill Hustle and
2018.
Chill.
Yeah, and I remember like listening to him and just being like, dude, he is really on some Black Moth Super Rainbow type of stuff. I was like, dude,
he's
I'm like,
incredible.
this is awesome.
Go check Ben out. He goes by Who Am I? HUAMI, one
Who
word.
Am
He's
I? All
fucking incredible,
Who
dude.
Am I?
The vocoder stuff is insane, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love vocoding. I use it every chance I get in my music. And so whenever I hear someone else, I'm just like, oh, that's
Quick
killer.
Damn, we need to get you
Yeah.
guys on your new record then.
That would be that would be great.
But I have a
You know,
quick
and
question. for
Oh,
you
hold on,
guys.
Dan. Go ahead.
Sure,
Sorry.
I wanted to ask, so I like Black Moth Super Rainbow is actually one of my biggest inspirations, specifically for two characters that I've made, Noard and Sebastian. I made them around the time period when I was in high school, because like the person who introduced me to Black Moth Super Rainbow was my friend Kestrel, Young Duck, that's what he goes by. And he was, me and him also have like this little duo that we did when we were in college called Cool Guy and the White One. And that's actually how most of the time yeah, it's like that's actually who I started performing with a lot.
Which one
like,
are you, Fred?
when Errol started doing a bunch of, like, shows for us.
Nice. Yeah.
But he introduced me to Black Moth Super Rainbow and Animal Collective and like just bands of those types of like forms. And I was already highly into indie and alternative psychedelic music at the time period, like when I was in high school. But like once I got to college, like it just opened my horizon. And then rap music started like going on the rise. Like, you know, you had more alternative rappers like Chance the Rapper and just more weirder forms of rap music that just did not exist. Like, you know, of course, like Tyler the Creator or Earl Sweatshirt, Odd Future as a whole, and then the whole SoundCloud wave. Like that was, I would say for me being a rap fan, it was just amazing to see that like we can finally see all these forms of music merging together, because you have you know, you could say like you had the new metal wave back in the 2000s, and then SoundCloud mixing metal, emo, all these different like rock aesthetics that people would say are like dead at this point. But like I feel like at that it helped me, because I always liked that music, but I never got into it too much because I felt like I was just too late on like the metal scene or like the rock scene as a whole. But I felt like once like people started just combining all those together, like it allowed me to experience it in a different way. But I was gonna ask, what is your favorite Black Moth Super Rainbow album?
Dandelion Gum. It's pretty great. Yeah, I've actually gotten more into tobacco in the last couple of years, I guess, too. Like Malibu Ken, that record was sick.
With Aesop Rock. I love that. I listen to that a lot.
It's pretty cool.
Fun fact, every time I plug my USB in my car, that's the first fucking song that pops up is a song from that album. It goes bum, 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 bum. Every time I plug my shit in, I'm always like, shut the fuck up.
So what's your favorite Black Moth record then?
It has to be the first one. Well, technically the first one, Falling Through a Field, because that was the first Black Moth Super Rainbow album I ever heard. Technically, I think it's like low-key a compilation of like the stuff that they were making under the name Satan Stomping Caterpillars.
Yeah, they had a few projects going. I've never listened to that. Okay.
You can actually find some of their stuff on actually all the Satan Stomping Caterpillars discography on Bandcamp. Nice. I think they have like 1 EP and 2 albums or something like that. For me, that just resonates with me more, because I've listened to everything off of their like the whole entire discography. It's just like over the years, I'm like, it's just something about the earlier era of like
for sure
Black Moth Super Rainbow that sticks with me more.
I also have to say, just looking at your list of groups that you like, very brave choice putting Current 93 on there. I love Current 93, but it's the most challenging shit I probably ever heard, and probably the most problematic.
A lot of my music, I've actually made it a goal of mine to like make neo folk type of rap music, and for years, like I've been listening to them for like 7 years, and I'm like, I don't really know how I'm gonna like ever, like, I don't know if I can show this to certain people, because like there's definitely they definitely were into some questionable things in their earlier years that like
Yeah.
It was just like
Wow.
the anti-Semitism shit. I'm just like, what the like? It was like, God damn, like,
It's
this
rough.
is weird.
Yeah,
This is
but
freaky shit. Bro.
I've not heard
Wow.
anything else like it. So, I mean, that
Wow.
has to mean something, right? So, cool.
I had a question, kind of a follow up to Eric's question about the production. One of the things that Erik and I talked about with the project was that it almost sounded like we were kind of taking a trip through like different eras of hip hop.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do the like Vince McMahon reveal thing. I'm done. Fuck, this thing's hot as shit. I don't know, man. I like. I guess it would be like an homage to like production in general. I'm just like I said. I've been more on that tip of leaning toward just producing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just like to try. I've always kind of liked to, mess around and try different shit out. And
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not like great with all kinds of like crazy sequencing and, wild production shit, but I like doing, I like using like sounds around and, that kind of shit and, fucking around with what I have, and trying to experiment a little bit here and there. Cause I mean, I'm not like the most technically savvy with stuff, but I mean, I've been like playing around for 20 plus years on stuff. And also like the fact that a lot of those songs are, or at least like part of those tracks are, 7-10 years old, stuff like that. And I mean, I listen to everything, like my favorite, I always say my favorite band of all time is Rush. I don't know if that holds up at this point in my life specifically, but I mean, that's like, I would, Rush in Between the Buried and Me and, the
Sure.
Mars Volta, that kind of shit was like my production style more so like with wanting to, and it doesn't always play out that way. We have some hooks like here and there and stuff and some of the stuff, but, and also stuff like Closet Witch that I don't know. I like the idea of going between like boom, 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 kind of quick little pieces and then like long drawn out pieces that morph and move and shift along. And I like kind of like dabbling with that. And, there was a connective thread with the album, as far as like what I was working on in the first place and then what the idea molded into early on. And then from there, it was just like building around that. And, once the main idea is in mind, there's like a motif or whatever, then just go from there. And like whatever's happening is happening under that. It just works out that way,
Sure.
I don't like produce a lot either. So it's like what I work on is pretty much just like, this is going to be, if I know it's going to work and be for that, then, I could build from there. Otherwise, it'll just kind of sit for a while. So some of it is like stuff that sat around for 10 years because finally I was like, oh, you know what? This one will finally work here for this project. It fits perfectly this subject, blah, blah, blah,
It just totally made sense to me, Trey, like all of the influences hip hop wise that you talked about. I mean, everything from Death Grips to Kanye and whatnot, because a lot of those, like Kanye specifically, I mean, he goes from, you could talk about like the College Dropout era, being sort of like almost like boom bap-ish, and then you get into like Yeezus, and that's when he gets into the more experimental stuff. And like in a weird sort of way, there were songs that reminded me it wouldn't sound out of place on a Death Grips record. And then there were songs
I love that shit too, man.
And then
I was playing on noise shows for a couple of years, so I love all the shit from Muscatine.
I can tell from
all that
definitely.
I love that shit, man.
Yeah, the bookends of this record are phenomenal. I mean,
absolutely.
The first part, the first one to me sounds dangerously close to power electronics.
And that's what the aim is. And like, I don't know if you noticed that it's like, it's essentially, I don't know if you can hear the like essentially demon saying the Lord's Prayer, like in the underneath there. There's like that juxtaposition of like heaven and hell, good and evil in the whole record too. That's like kind of part of it. Like, the Kayfabe idea, because it's all, what we see it as, whatever,
Right.
But like, I love that you say that, because like I actually had a dude, like a homie that I know who, like, I don't know if he raps anymore, but he used to rap. He was from Iowa City, but he lives like out west now. But he hit me up one time like, man, I'm trying to check out your album, but like it just fucking keeps playing static. Like it's like I've just been listening to 13 minutes of fucking static. And like apparently I had it set up like when you go to the band camp, it just plays the first track, and he just had the first track playing on repeat or whatever. He was like, he told me like 14 times in the conversation, like, yeah, man, I'm liking some of this other stuff I'm hearing out of it. You got to fucking do something about that intro.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah. I loved
the grit at the beginning and the beauty
Yeah.
at the end, or
the
whatever.
the last track's phenomenal too. It just kind of comes out
Yeah, it
of
was
that
like a
violence
jam. I just
into
jam
like
for that.
some ambient, and then even like some ethereal kind of nature sounds come. It's phenomenal.
And that was just me. That was just me sitting in the backyard. And another funny thing about that was I didn't realize until we'd already dropped the album and everything, and I listened to it after, because I threw like a maximizer on the whole record or whatever. I tried to like kind of level it up at the end, and so it pulled up that Zoom sound that was recorded on like a handheld recorder, that outdoor nature stuff. I was just like sitting out back, and it was when I was still drinking and stuff. So I was just sitting out back drinking, but I could hear at the very end, I cut a couple farts and like giggled to myself like a fucking little kid, dude. Like I was like, "What the? Oh shit! That made it on the record."
You heard it here first, folks.
There you go.
I've purposely done that on an album before, where I'm like, "That's funny," and now I'm like, "Ah, fuck, man." Everyone's gonna think it's like this motif I keep of just I'm gonna have farts in every fucking album from now on.
Awesome. So you were talking a little bit about gear. Do you use mostly hardware, like outboard gear, or do you do a lot with soft synths in the computer and stuff?
Yeah, it's mostly that record was mostly like just MIDI,
Okay.
sound bank stuff, MIDI. I got like some outboard gear that I, kind of fuck around with, but and I guess I had some pedal work on some of.
Sure.
I know, like at least one of the instrumentals was like the melody for the music was just like me doing some singing through a vocoder,
Cool.
kind of making it for, it was track 5, I think it was, but a little bit of stuff like that. But like predominantly it was like on the computer. Cool. And I know some of it, like that older track, there was like live bass and live guitar and all that.
I thought
I
heard some live drums. Is that possible? On one of the tracks? If not,
I have some,
just really solid programming.
I know I have some good samples of some live drums, and I did, like I really enjoy like programming drums, and I do it like when I actually get in the groove of it, I like can kind of fuck around and make some cool sound of shit.
It's very natural.
You might be thinking of the one that has like the live bass and live guitar on it, the Heel Heat. That was that one that was like 10 years old.
Yeah, I think that is it.
And it's like, it's got like the double kick. It's like on some
double kick
shit. It sounds like a rock song, kind of,
Yeah. And then it goes straight into like the most 808 sounding drums ever. Like the next track is just, and it's just like so good.
I'm trying
because you get to go all over the place.
Bay Wyatt?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Bay Wyatt.
Yeah, that slow one.
That's what I meant by like 1 minute it sounds like a definitive Jux record, or like
you can ask Trey, dude. It was a nightmare between like changing song titles and like the order that the songs were in and all this shit, dude. Yeah. He's like, bro, just tell me the fucking name of the original song. I don't know what the fuck song we're talking about when you say these titles.
I'll be honest, for the longest, like for the year, like because we started this idea like way back in conceptualizing All the World is Kayfabe back in 2019, and like for 2 years straight, I'm like, wait, so this song changed after like a year? Like, I mean, the name of it, like, okay, what's the name?
Like 20 times each, dude.
Like anytime you had asked me to like do a beat, like a verse on a song again, I'm like, wait a minute, like I can't remember what this is called. I just remember
eventually the system just becomes, what are my first 2 bars? Like if I give him the first 2 bars, he's like, all right, got it. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you guys, this is kind of a question for both of you guys. So, because that kind of leads into my next question is how do you approach the lyricism? Because I know that this was like a heavy concept record. Do you guys like, if you're approaching it like this is a specific project with like a concept in mind, do you approach it like you're going to title the song based on the beat and then you're going to write the lyrics? Or is it just sort of like
there's no rhyme
whatever happens?
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. We do it. We've done it like a multitude of ways. Like I said, he's got verses written, man. Like he could tell you some more of his writing process. Okay. I've been writing raps for like 20 plus years. So like I don't know. I can just go and it comes together, Like there's usually just some kind of theme in mind and then it comes together.
Sure.
I feel like the chemistry of me and Errol, and even just people who we've all collaborated with, we're all kind of just people who just nerd out on a bunch of different concepts and interests and bringing our personal lives into our music, but giving it this weird fantasy. I feel like the way that we think just naturally, like, and because like I agree with you, like it does seem like it came together like with a pure thought in mind, but it really didn't. It's just, like, we're all just like people in the same situations. We're just regular people who have obsessions and passions with music, and we like nerding out about all these different rappers and wanting to emulate all these different rappers, and probably done it through different points of our life. And now that like I'm 26. Errol, how old are you? I don't think I ever asked your age.
You can
I know
whisper
you're 30, but like,
you can type it into the chat.
I just turned 30, baby.
He needs the mask for that
so
one.
Me and Errol 10 years
36.
apart. So for me, I just like, all right, so I started rapping when I was 13. I was heavily into Eminem and Lil Wayne, and that's all I listened to at that time. I discovered Relapse Refilled, one of the most fucking craziest albums I've ever heard even to this day. Don't play that album in this day and age. Like, keep that to yourself. But like,
is that the Eminem record? Relapse?
Yeah, it's like the one he came out with after he did his hiatus from his drug problems, and then like, so for me, like, I always knew who Eminem was growing up. I knew he was like a white rapper, and I knew that like rap music was primarily black. You know, as a kid, like I got that, but like I never fully understood the like nuances of it. And so like when I started listening to music for myself, so starting out with Gorillaz and then getting more into rap music, whether it's from listening to Cranked Up Soulja Boy back in the 2007 era, and then getting into internet culture, and then realizing like music is moving on to the internet back in like the early 2000, like the late 2000s before the early 2010s. And like I pretty much was aware of like all of that. Like I remember discovering YouTube by myself back in 2005 when it first came out, and just kind of just gradually saw like how things went from like CDs to CD players to MP3s to iPods to streaming. And like, so for me, it was just like, once I like started getting a grasp of music, whether it was like me on the bus, like reciting like a popular rap song or popular just pop song in general at that time period, I did that. And then once I wanted to like dive into, and another thing about me is that like, I never cared for always like listening to like the hits. Like once I realized the concept of an album, I was like, wait, so there's just, so other than the music on the radio, they actually have albums. And as a kid, that blew my mind for some reason. And so I just downloaded the whole entire album. Even if I didn't like all the songs, I still appreciated the fact that like there's more than just what's on the radio and like what the number one song is. And like all the kids around me, they didn't do what I was doing all the time. I was like nerding out, listening to like probably a fucking whole entire album from Young Jock, even though like he probably was more of a like one hit wonder type of rapper at the time period. But in my head, it's just like, no, like I want to appreciate every single song, even if it's not my favorite, because that's what I did with the Gorillaz. And so when I discovered Eminem and wanted to like know why he was popular, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get into Eminem. But then like, besides the content, we all know Eminem's content is fucking brutal sometimes.
Right.
The technical ability of Eminem blew my fucking head away, from like the rhyme scheming of just, and then like when I went back to like Slim Shady LP, Infinite, all of the old stuff, the Marshall Mathers LP, like I literally was just like a student just listening to those albums every day. Of course, I had to listen to the clean version because my parents wouldn't let me like download like explicit shit. That's why I have an intense rebellion for like censorship, to be honest. Like even if I know something's bad, like I'm like, well, I don't want it to be censored. Don't censor shit for me. I don't know, like, and honestly, in this day and age, I'm like, I'm fucking upset now that everyone's just all censoring shit like I get it, but no, like I need to hear the full-fledged details. You can't hide the details from me. And then so pretty much every day I'm just listening to Lil Wayne or Eminem, and then random, or like if it was Lil Wayne, then I was most likely listening to Young Money. So I was listening like to the earlier versions of Drake and Nicki Minaj and, you know, all the pop stars who are big today, but like during the beginning of that time period, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know all the mixtapes. I just wanted to know every single thing that they had, and like that's just what I did as like when I was younger. So I equate my writing ability to how Eminem always rapped, which was just going into the dictionary and like finding words that he never heard before and figuring out how to like use it in a rap. And that's what I did. I just took Eminem's method and just applied it to myself. So like, you know, from that point on,
My
like,
method. I'm ambidextrous. I'm coming through with the tam and the boom and the fan and the fancy.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I've been
That's
waiting
great.
for my moment.
That's great.
everybody's this. I'm from
I used to love Eminem. I can't hate.
on the band and blue. Yeah, that's just what I
No,
did.
he's
So I
right.
just, like, but I also was really into like fast rapping too. So like that's what got me into like Bone Thugs and Harmony, and then
Tech
Tech
Nine. I saw.
Nine.
Yeah.
And it's just,
dude,
and
yeah,
it's
I
just
had a
like
huge
all
Tech
it's like
Nine
all
phase.
like it's like all that together. So it's pretty much the beginning of my rap appreciation was literally lyricism, just nothing but bars, rapping the most complex words and seeing how fast I could rap. So it's just like I would memorize like a fucking like Busy Bone song all the time, like every day after school. I just go on YouTube and just be like, I'm sending a message on your pastas on your hit of my biz. Want to see you? I will drop you, get slud, and get drugged. My niggas, I have to pay the judge. Got you on the spot. You watch it pop you when the boss is telling me not to, but I'm gonna stop until they get shot. When they go to the hospital, they're gonna get shot too. And like that's literally all I did when I was 11 years old, like every day,
Wow.
every day.
I love Bone
That's
Thugs.
awesome. Yeah, Bone Thugs is amazing, man. Their Eternal 1999 is a perfect album from beginning to end.
Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I like everything. Anything with like a occult edge to it. Like I know Bone Thugs isn't like 3-6 Mafia or
3-6
whatever,
Mafia, baby.
but
Yeah.
they do have like the Mr. Ouija song. Like there's
Yeah.
elements of weird shit going on there, and
Yeah. They got the death. They got the macabre in there.
yeah.
You want to know the
definitely.
strange thing for me, like knowing like a lot of my shit really is just emulating like that dark aesthetic, but like for some reason like I didn't get deep into Bone Thugs or like that side of rap or underground rap music until later. I don't understand why. I liked elements of it, but I think I was still like I still had that young, like I want to be like a famous rapper, change girls all around me type of vibe. Like I think I still was intoxicated by that mindset, but I still cared about like
Well, I mean,
I really like dark shit.
No one wants to be in the Grave Diggers. Come on. You know?
It's a side project. Shit.
Yeah. So about lyrics, since we're talking about that, is one of you more into wrestling, or both of you, or none of you, or like
That's me, dude. That's all me.
That's all on you. But
I'm trying to get Trey a little more into the shits, man.
it does.
Yeah, we should break.
like
yeah.
Can we not
I
break
played a
kayfabe
few
with that?
WWE like games back when I was younger.
There
Like
you
I know a little bit. Like I always, this was not intentional, but like when I was younger, anytime that I tried to get into wrestling, I always would just tell kids like I either like Kane or the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah. You can't miss, you know?
He's the
Yeah.
Undertaker, baby. I just noticed that with the hat.
Yeah. Well, after talking to you a little bit, Trey, it seems like you would actually enjoy the concept of kayfabe as well. You know, like even if it's
Yes.
not,
That's why.
that's perfect. Yeah. But the
That's why
concept
it
of
works,
it,
man.
you know?
'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah, the concept of it, like when he took, because I remember when you told me about kayfabe. I think I remember actually watching a video about the word and how it was a wrestling term, and I totally agreed with it because it's like it really is a representation of like what our lives is. Like I feel it's kind of hard to tell like what is reality and what's like media because it's like they're all mixing together. Like for example, like I mean, just to be, I mean, if I'm gonna be totally, I'm serious. This is Trey now. On a serious note of the fact that like the fucking fact that like I can literally see the president of the United States taking a picture with Kanye West, two totally different worlds, and it's so ridiculous, but it is forever cemented within American history of that being a thing and how it affected us to this day, where it's like everyone is so consumed with media
in like this weird ass reality, and they don't even care if it's fake anymore. It's better than like not having like any type of purpose at all. And I do feel like what's happening with the world, like just with everything, it's like we don't even need to watch TV anymore, man. We literally can just like turn on the news and we can just see what the fuck is going on in Russia and Ukraine. And we're literally watching World War III in front of our eyes, but it's entertainment instead of this thing that should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it's
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny because when we looked into this record, I was not familiar with the term kayfabe. And as soon as I read it, I thought, oh, that's the fucking word. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I knew that this had to be a concept
so much more
that
than
exists, the fiction being presented as reality and knowing it's a fiction.
Not even that. I mean,
You know.
like, especially from like Carney days and like what, you know, earlier before, you know, the internet and stuff like that, especially in wrestling, you know, people got their noses broken and stuff like that for saying it's fake and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
But
right.
it's the idea that like even, and you know, and stuff like politics and shit like that, like it's living the lie, you know, it's
Right.
Kayfabe is the reality. It is. And
the lies
and
the
you
reality.
live by that. You live by that credo to the, you know, to your end.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I feel like
it's
it's representing what's kind of causing or like a borderline personality disorder in the sense that like no one really knows who they're supposed to be. People are realizing you can be multiple things all at once.
Every internet, every social media you have is fucking kayfabe.
Yeah.
That's you putting on your internet presence. We all live a kayfabe life. It's like everywhere you look, you see the shit. That's like essentially why it worked perfect for Trey to be a part of it, you know, because he understands the concept and we were able to bring that together, mesh that into that like one theme.
Yeah, it's a great umbrella to be able to work under, I'm sure, too, because it's like,
it was fun, man.
Anything you bring to it, you can just say, well, that's my character or whatever, you know, like
that's why song titles, song titles would change and stuff too, because it would be like, you know, I'm tying into wrestling terminology and whatnot as part of this, you know, as part of the shtick. And then I'll catch something. Maybe I catch something that Trey said in one of the songs. Oh shit. Oh no. And then it ties into this, like this theme or whatever, this terminology that works perfectly as a double entendre for this idea and whatnot. Right. So like, that's why there's so many name changes and shit like that. It was like, but this one, because there was a time I had like 100 different like terms and puns and shit like that all written on some pages in a notebook. It's just, you know, we'd have a song worked on and then, you know, I'd just kind of pick it through and then new ones would come along, sometimes take over like, oh, nope, it's this, you know. I think we're going to keep that same theme in the second one. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we have like a minute and a half banger to open the record up with. That's like,
oh man,
part of the production is like a sample from like me at work. Like, I'll just say that, like, just like, Trey came with just fucking heat. Like, I heard this, he sent me it on Messenger and I'm just like, let's do a new album. I think it was like a good mix. It's kind of reminiscent of the like noisy mechanicalness of the intro to the first record, but like an actual song, bam, straight to the point. Oh shit, the record's starting right. It's starting. Like, I think we're gonna hit it quick. Might just be an EP. I think we're gonna just in and out. You know,
I like the idea of sampling yourself because there's no way you can get sued.
That's
exactly.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why, like, I have all the machines and shit that make noises, you know, and it's like fucking record that, throw some shit on it, and like whatever it may be, you know, throw some filters on it, whatever, you know. And I've been doing that shit for fucking 15 since I started producing, you know, actually getting into doing it 15 or whatever years ago. Like, yeah, I always like, I love doing that shit. Like, when I was living in Chicago, like those Errol records were hefty, like guitar, bass, drums made around the crib. Like I remember I would just beat on my mattress a bunch, like in different spots for these kick drums I was using, like layer shit up. And I love doing stuff like that to like create. I use drum packs kind of for like thickening sometimes. Like I gotta use some 808s, you know, I'm gonna get some subs and whatnot. But like a lot of times I just kind of layer stuff like I got original sounds as like a bass, and then, you know, set something underneath to like really fill it out. But if you make your own sounds, then yeah, exactly. It's like not only do you not have to worry, it's not even the fact of that. It's more of like, well, nobody else is gonna have like that exact sound. You know, there's a million kick drums and snare drums that all sound the same and shit. But like, the way that I just like, the way that coffee cup sounded when I set it on this surface, like sounded tight. And I bet if I threw this and this on it, it would probably make a really sick snare snap as a little part on a song or something, you know? I record shit constantly. Like I don't carry my field recorder like I should. Like I record shit lo-fi on my phone, like, and send it to myself. And then I take it and fuck with it the same kind of way. Like I use a lot of lo-fi samples of like shit in the world around me like that too. Like purposely, instead of going to get the Zoom where I could get the, you know, the 180 degree like spatial recording, I would rather like just get this nasty mono, you know, iPhone recording.
Yeah.
And then I'll fuck with it like that. And then it'll really sound fucked up and different. Like then it's really not going to be able to be replicated or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you won't know what the fuck it is. Like I strive to do that kind of shit. Oh, I'm going to take this. And then after I do this, you're going to hear it. And what synth is that? You know, you're not going to fucking know that it was that.
Yeah.
Maybe most of the time, hopefully that's the goal.
I think you definitely succeed in that goal, because I remember Eric and I were having a conversation while we were reviewing it, that like it was very difficult to pin down like exactly how to describe the sound of this record in the best possible way. Like, you know, because
and I'm glad for that. I think that's part of it too, is like that we kind of, I think the idea of us going into it like and just throwing shit at the wall and letting shit stick, like similar to the way that the album art is just like, all right, I'm gonna fucking just pour this real quick, and you know, it's just a mess. Like just like the world and what, you know.
But it works.
The illusion of all of it is like it's just a fucking mess. Like so, like why not just make it like that? Plus, we live in different states, and you know, we both have our own schedules, and just do that back and forth. Like, I mean, I've been doing that forever anyway, like back and forth with people from wherever. But like, just with me and Trey, man, just like it was smooth. It's been smooth the whole way through doing it, you know. And like he's got tons of his other projects, you know, that he could tell you about that he's working on. So this part is just a little piece for him. I mean, he's about to fucking, he's in his stretch now where he's just fucking pumping it out, and it's all fire, you know, like he's hitting his stride, man.
Hey Trey, why don't you talk about those projects a little bit?
Okay, so so to kind of just sum up CK Pits. So the actual name of CK Pits is the acronym for the statement Chinese kids playing in the snow. Has nothing to do with my music. It was just something when I was 19 years old. I heard it on the Mac Miller project. He just randomly says Chinese kids playing in the snow. I thought it was fucking hilarious. And I'm just like, I'm going to use that for something in the future. Then I get to college. I'm like, I'm going to call myself Chinese kids playing in the snow. And then I was like, I probably should shorten it, because first, it's a long ass name. Two, I could probably get in trouble for this name down the future. So this is me censoring myself before someone tried to cancel me. And I've had 9 years to think of changing my name. And I was like, you know what? I think I have good logistics of being able to get away with this. Because first of all, what's wrong with the statement Chinese kids playing in the snow? Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, it's just like, for me, it represents absurdity. But overall, I'll get to the point. So I first started CK Pits with two of my friends and so this is the beginning part of like my music life, where I started actually recording and actually meeting people on the internet. I went to this church with this dude named Jake Brooks, who did a lot of the production off of my first EP for CK Pits, like the earlier, like back in 2015. We just went to church together, and then when I went to college, he just started sending me a bunch of beats and stuff, and we worked on the project. And me and him actually, he was the first person I ever got along with the band Death Grips. So me and him were the first. That's how we like became friends, because of Death Grips. So he was like kind of my first like friend of just nerding out about music, especially like experimental music, because he used to make a lot of like a dubstep at the time. Now it's just more ambient experimental type of like electronic music. And he goes by Godwin now. He went by Needless Noise at the time, but Yeah, I want like it's kind of hard. He's kind of a hermit like myself. Like he's not on Facebook a lot. It's hard to get in contact with him. But whenever I can, we usually just like work on random shit. Yeah, so I started my first project, Kettle Spray. It was just a 5-song EP of both Needless. Well, my friend Jake and like his other friend James, who at the time period was 14-year-old kid making trap beats, and they both used to make beats together and like collab, and then they would send it to me, and I would just used to like rap on my laptop microphone. It's just I was like, I need to get these music ideas out, and I'm just gonna get better over time. And like so, along with just being a fanatic of music and rapping, I started just like making these projects based off of like, you know, my interests of like whether it was like dark horrorcore shit, whether it was influenced by Eminem, and then eventually the folk stuff started coming in from like listening to a lot of indie music, and then eventually like getting into more dark folk with Current 93 once I discovered them way back in 2015, and just kind of just building from all these loves. Yeah, so I made that project way back in 2015. That was like me making a solid CK Pits project. And then I do have this compilation project of like a bunch of miscellaneous and random songs I made back when I really wasn't taking CK Pits seriously. It's just something I did like outside of like, you know, wanting to just like make art, because I went to art college. So it's just like whenever I was just like in my dorm room getting high, I'm just like, I'm gonna make a song randomly. And then I just kind of did that gradually, and then I really didn't start taking stuff seriously until like actually until like I started making music with my friend Young Duck with Kestrel, and then meeting Errol. Like that's like when I kind of started realizing maybe I should take this a little bit more serious, because like when Erik had introduced me to the Junetopia event, that was the first time I had ever done a performance under CK Pits, and it was fucking fun. It was really fun. From that point on, the other projects after that, I would actually say CK Pits got more, it got more solidified after I left Minneapolis, because I really kind of wasn't living the best lifestyle at the time. I was just getting too fucked up a lot. And just like, I mean, I had the drive and passion. It's just, I just did not have enough focus to like make things like solid. Like I just was sloppy all the time about stuff. Like even if it sounded good, it was just like mentally, it's just like I think I was invoking too much of the dark aesthetics that like I was talking about. And that's when I realized like, all right, I don't want to change that, but I need to change my attitude towards how I'm actually doing my music. So like once I left that environment in Minneapolis, and because it was just too cold, I was suffering from winter depression, alcoholism, just too much, like just indulgence of overall. Like once I left Minneapolis and I started my first album entirely produced by me, I ended up just making my first project called Annoying Melodies, which is just what it is. It's just a bunch of like repetitive, like kind of Barney type of songs, but with a horrorcore cult edge. That's the best way to describe it. Apocalyptic lullaby songs. So I did Annoying Melodies 1, then Annoying Melodies 2, which is pretty much just me just getting better with like understanding how to master and stuff like that. Because a lot of those projects sound very janky. Like I still like listening to them because like I made them at a certain time that like it meant something for me. If I definitely have like been going back trying to like at least just like turn up the EQ, because I just did not know what that stuff was at the time. So like I'm like learning how to master and do all this stuff by myself, and just like forcing myself to like actually just go on, like just like learn bit and bit, but like still kind of keep it raw. So it's like still something only I can make, I guess. And so from that point on, then I made an EP called Magdalene, which was a pretty much an album about, I hate talking about love, to be honest. So it's just like representation of all like my girlfriends and kind of just getting out those emotions and then just kind of keeping it at that. And that's why I don't listen to it a lot, because it's hella cringy. And then once I did that, I was like, all right, I got an idea of what I want to do. Let's get a little bit more experimental. Then I make a project called Kyle Calamity, which is actually based off one of my my art characters I made when I was in college. It's just like this weird like boy that kind of looks like Johnny from Etta and Nettie, but like a demonic version, I guess, or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. Like,
hey guys, I hate to interrupt you guys, but I hear a real fussy kid inside, so I have to jump back inside and help out. But
cool. Yeah.
Thank you guys again
Awesome.
for so much for doing this, man.
Of course.
I super appreciate it.
Great talking to you, Eric. See you, Trey.
Bye.
thank you.
Awesome.
I really appreciate this. This is
Awesome.
This has been some of the these are the days that I live for. Just like these specific days where I can just nerd out.
Thank
But,
you so
absolutely.
much.
I'll get out of your hair because like I'm just gonna keep going and going. So like I'll talk to you guys later.
Cool. Good night.
Yeah.
We'll
Yep,
talk
have
to
a
you
good
later.
night, man.
Thanks again.
See you later.
See ya.
Man, I'll tell you what, that was an awesome interview. CK Pits.
Jeez, what a sweetheart.
Wow. And I'll tell you what, man, I think we found somebody who's just as into Black Moth Super Rainbow as you, if not even more. Yeah.
Wow. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody, please go and listen to this album. It's definitely like some of the best like regional like around here that I've heard. And of course Obs, who we interviewed a while back.
Sure.
His stuff is amazing as well. I'm just glad that there's a hip hop scene around here that is centered around DIY. One of these days in this century, maybe I'll actually make it to a show that actually features live music.
Oh, yeah.
I have not been to a show yet in probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, 2020, no one went to shows,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I still have not been to a show since music came back. Because, you know, music left. It stopped existing. It became illegal to make music.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, you don't remember? Dude, you were breaking the law the whole time, just like Rob Alford.
I'm glad that my music has such little impact that the cops didn't even care.
Oh, they were watching you, Eric.
The music cops.
The music cops, the music police.
Wee, 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 wee.
I think that
that's how their siren goes.
Yeah. Well, there's two different kinds. There's your kind and my kind. Because I apparently cannot replicate what you did. So oh dude, you know what that sounds like? That's almost like that sound that Trump when he talked about the windmills and how they cause cancer and kill the birds. He was like, you know, that sort of thing. Like he actually said that. He's like, they say the noise causes cancer. You tell me. And then he described them as like, he said that if like you like birds, you don't want to go near the windmills because they're like graveyards for birds.
And it's from the sound.
Yeah.
And then he made the sound.
Yeah, he made the sound. He's like,
and so did every bird that heard that interview die?
Well, and everybody who went past it when it made that sound got cancer.
Oh, it kills birds, but it gives humans cancer. No,
it gives humans cancer and it kills the birds because
and it's
like
the sound.
Graveyards.
Wow.
It's the sound. I heard a sound. I turned around. I turned around and found the thing that made the sound. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And it was a windmill. That's what they might be giants were talking about.
Please pass the milk.
Milk, please.
Wow.
So basically, this episode has turned into us singing finger.
Oh no, this is not making it into the episode.
Okay, good. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe they'll enjoy our singing.
Oh my, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
They're gonna say, I'm not listening to reviews by these guys. They can't even fucking sing.
But you do have to. Because you know they care about what the journalists, the rock critics, they care about their voices. Yeah.
Well,
I always found that term like hilarious. Rock critics.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like you're gonna critique rock.
Yeah.
You know,
rocks.
Rock.
This geode's too shiny. When I broke it open.
Yeah.
Too many
like
crystals inside. What a shitty ass rock.
It's a shitty crystal.
No, I just meant that if we think that our voices are good enough to sing, then our taste is questionable.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
As always, hit us up on Instagram or Facebook if you have any suggestions for people you want us to talk to, people you want us to listen to, records you want us to listen to, music we should like, music we shouldn't like.
Yeah.
Just let us know.
Yeah. And we'll keep telling you music that you shouldn't like.
Yeah, we'll tell you guys that. Yeah. But I also want you guys to tell us that too. Like tell us what we shouldn't like.
Well, we'll tell you what we thought of something, and usually we'll say it's pretty good. But if we say it's pretty good, it's probably not very good, so you shouldn't listen to it.
So yeah, exactly. So if
So
anybody
reverse
knows
psychology.
If anybody knows what we shouldn't like, it should be you guys.
Yeah. Oh my God, let's go.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Bye.
I will drop you, get slud, and get blood. My next I have to pay the judge. Got you on the spot, you watch to pop you when the boss is telling me not to, but I'm gonna stop until they get shot. When they go to the hospital, they're gonna get shot too.
Every time I plug my shit in, I'm always like, shut the fuck up.
Ow.